Kings free agent targets, and we're going to be doing this by position. And today it's time for the guards.
Yes. I'm doing both guards. I think we're probably going to get through ball handlers in this segment and then more of the combo guards in the next one or whenever we continue. And, I'm not going to lie, it's not that long of a list when it comes to the ball handlers. It kind of depends who you ask if you would even think that the Kings need another ball handler. I think obviously Malik had the ball in his hands a ton more this year. If he's back next year, maybe it's not that much more of a need. But I still feel like, with how they use Davion Mitchell, he's not really a point guard, which we talked about yesterday during his player breakdown. So I don't know. I feel like the Kings still need another person who can create their own shot or create a shot for others. And obviously, if you can have a good backup point guard, I think that can do you a lot of good. The same way that we saw what Chris Paul was able to do in theory for the Warriors this year in those non-Steph minutes, just kind of keep the ship afloat. And I think the Kings could use a little bit of that, just like a steady, calming presence when De'Aaron's not out there, somebody you can trust to kind of get things going or keep things in motion when De'Aaron's not out there. So that brings us to the free agency list. It's not really a spectacular ball handler list. I definitely liked the look of the combo guards a little bit more, but let's get into it with the point guards. And on the point guard list for the ball handlers, these are in no particular order either. It's not like I have any preference on any of these guys. These are just the people that I feel like the Kings should have circled in their target list. Starting with, we'll do Monte Morris, who has been a guard who has definitely spent some time around the league, spent some time in Denver. I believe he's right now in Minnesota as well. And it's just a really solid point guard. Think of him like a Tyus Jones type. Definitely is a good defender as well, but really is just a steady ball handler who keeps things going. Has been on some winning teams. I'm a big fan of Monte Morris. I'm also a big fan of somebody who I mentioned in the comparison of that, Tyus Jones, who is also a free agent. He's been a backup point guard in Memphis for the past couple years before getting traded this past offseason to Washington, where he played for the Wizards. Did okay. Definitely wasn't incredible. I think it's
a mess out there, though.
I think it's pretty clear he's a backup point guard also.
Yeah.
Like, he can be a starting point guard on a bad team, or he can be a really top-level backup point guard on a good team. And I think that's just more his route. He averaged 12 points a game, 7 assists on 30 minutes per game. Last season, he was 6th in the 6th man of the year voting, averaged 10 points and 5 boards. I think if you're getting that from your backup point guard, that's excellent. He also, for his career, shoots 36% from three. Last season, shot 41% on just under 4 threes. So he's a pretty good three-point shooter as well. I'm a big fan. Tyus Jones is probably my number one on the ball handler list. Been a big fan of Tyus Jones for a couple years. Next, we have Delon Wright, who is somebody who's actually been on this Kings team. I always say this is probably Monty McNair's biggest blunder as GM is he traded Delon Wright for Tristan Thompson. And I believe they did that because I think they expected to not get Rashawn Holmes back in free agency. He ended up not getting as big of a contract as what he thought he was going to get, then ended up re-signing with the Kings. The Kings then had Tristan Thompson and Rashawn Holmes, didn't really need him, and probably could have used Delon Wright, who's a bit of a actual Swiss Army knife. You look at his numbers, he does a little bit of everything. He might be like a 5-point, 4 assist, 4 rebound. He can get you a steal. He's a really good defender and is listed around 6'4", 6'5". He's a really, really big player. Might even be able to play some 2-guard as well, so kind of could fit into that ball handler or that combo guard role. And he played with Miami this year. So, if he's good enough for Heat culture, I would think he's good enough for the Kings as well. And 2 more on the list for ball handlers. I've got Reggie Jackson, who is a little up and down. He played with the Nuggets this season and I think last season as well.
Yeah.
He's somebody who I think if you watch him every night, you're probably not going to love him, but you see random nights this year when Jamal Murray, who was in and out of the rotation, They would have some nights where they wouldn't have Jokic, and then randomly Reggie Jackson would have a 20-plus game. I think he might have had a 30-point game at some point this season.
They beat the Clippers, or who did they beat?
They killed somebody.
Without Jokic and without Jamal
somebody.
Murray, and it was DeAndre Jordan, and Reggie Jackson leading the charge.
Nuts, absolutely insane. He's 34 years old, just turned 34 in April, so he's definitely a veteran. He would be, I think, the most veteran person on this team, assuming JaVale's gone. He averaged 10 points a game this season, which I think is fantastic. Played all 82 games, averaged 22 minutes per game. Last season, averaged 10 points per game as a bench player for about half the season. So he's somebody who can start and can sit. De'Aaron has had these ankle injuries come and go. I think he's definitely capable of being a starter. He's a scorer. He's somebody who I think, again, if you watch him every day, you might not love, which is probably going to be the reason why I wouldn't be super thrilled if they get Reggie Jackson, but I do think he's somebody who at the very least is a scorer. And if you're concerned about De'Aaron being out or missing some time because he's played a lot of games these past 2 seasons, I think you can do worse than Reggie Jackson. And kind of tying into, I don't know if I would love this free agency signing, but he is somebody who I think would fit. Somebody who a caller called yesterday and asked about Russell Westbrook, $3.9 million player option. I would assume he turns it down. And the thought here would just be maybe I don't think anybody knows what Russ's market is. I don't know if people are going to offer him a starting job. I don't know if he wants a high-level 6-man role.
Right.
I don't know if he wants to play for a contender. I don't know if he wants his own situation. But if he wants to play on a team that will just use him like a piece, like a basketball player, I feel like the Kings would be a good one. If he wants to have his own role, have a star sort of, usage or anything like that, I don't think Sacramento's the right spot for him. But if he wants to be used like a piece, like a weapon, I definitely think the Kings could use a guy like Russell Westbrook, who is just absolutely tenacious. Everything you hate about him as an opponent, I think you would love him as a player on your team. Yes, he's going to make some really, really dumb decisions, probably some really head-scratching, frustrating things, but he's also going to do a lot of hustle things that I just don't know if the Kings have anybody on their roster who can do it. He's somebody who's played with Domantas Sabonis. I guess they have a really good relationship, which we found out earlier this year. And as a dog, is somebody who, we do dog of the game or dog of the day before every game. Russ is a dude who's going to show up all 82 games. And if you're getting beat by 25 points, you put Russell Westbrook in, he's going to try. He's going to really, really try. And I do think that there's some value in that, especially for this young team who might, I don't want to say has some quit in them, but I think it's always good to have somebody in there who kind of understands this is a 48-minute game and every single minute counts. And I think Russ definitely embodies that. So it would be pretty frustrating, but at the end of the day, I can understand the logic of bringing in a guy like Russ.
Yeah, the Sac chat is saying meh so far, and that's just what this is, right?
The free agent list is not great this offseason.
It really is.
And these are all mid-level. The Kings have their mid-level exception, which is going to be around $12.9 million. I'm still trying to figure out if they have their biannual exception, which is, as you can tell by name, something you get every other year. They didn't have it last year because they operated as an under the cap team. The season before that, they signed Alex Len to a deal. I believe that number is somewhere around $4.5 million. So the guys that we can sign are either a $12-13 million contract guy or somebody who's around the $5 million, which is just above the veteran minimum. So the names that you're going to be looking at by nature are going to be these tier 3, tier 4 kind of guys.
Well, and the thing is, I can already hear people, if the names on the list weren't meh, right, what would be happening next? There'd be a bunch of people saying, well, they're not going to come to Sacramento anyway.
Exactly.
So
if I say DeMar DeRozan, you're going to, why would DeMar DeRozan go to Sacramento?
Exactly. And that's just kind of how it's been. As far as this list is concerned, I like Tyus Jones. I would definitely take Tyus Jones. This is all assuming that Malik Monk is not with us, I would say. So Tyus Jones to me would be a different type of 6-man than Malik Monk, but he would bring a lot as far as playmaking. He can shoot the 3 as well. So I would definitely look at Tyus Jones. Reggie Jackson, and I like Reggie Jackson. I just think he's kind of funny. He wears 2 different shoes and he's kind of out there, but I think that he can do some things, and he probably would be cheaper than Tyus Jones at this point in time. And as far as Russell Westbrook is concerned, I'm just not there.
Sure. I think a lot of people are there. Just for, to the point of, if people don't like this list, here are the other names of we're just doing the ball handlers now.
Sure.
We're going to do combo guards next. But the ball handlers who I didn't have listed but are free agents or have other rights that could lead them to free agency. Kyle Lowry, no. I don't think so. D'Angelo Russell's got an $18 million player option. We don't know what he's going to do with that.
No.
Markelle Fultz, I think people, I don't know, maybe that name gets people excited. There's Tyus Jones, Monty Morris. Gary Payton II has an $8.7 million player option.
Why is he even listed as a guard?
Yeah, that's a great question. He's listed as a point guard at that, too. Patrick Beverley, I don't think anybody wants to touch that after last week. You have Cam Payne. Maybe people are Cam Payne fans. I've heard people throw out Emmanuel Quickly. He's a restricted free agent. There's no way the Kings are going to be able to offer something Toronto's not going to be able to match.
Right.
Dennis Smith Jr. is available. Okay. Aaron Holiday, somebody who's already that's actually the youngest brother of the Holidays.
Got it.
That's not really doing you much. Jordan McLaughlin, he's okay. Chris Dunn, Spencer Dinwiddie, Patty Mills is a little bit older than I think people realize. He's about to be 36.
I know he's old.
In his 15th year.
Yeah.
Your boy Isaiah Thomas, Saban Lee. There's just not many. Like, these are the names of the other point guards available. If you don't like the list, I would also say this is probably the Kings' lowest on their needs. So this isn't really going to be something that's addressed. And if they were, it would have to be because they really like any of these guys. And I feel like Tyus Jones is the only one that would fall.
And somebody 916 just beat me to it on the text line. You know what my answer is to that? Davion, Keon, Kobe Jones. Yeah. You get in that gym. Get in the Summit Gym in New York, wherever it is, and dribble a basketball all day long. Remember Jason Williams? He said his dad had the keys to the gym, and he would just dribble all day long.
Yep.
Just do that.
Yeah.
I would rather that than any of these dudes. All right, combo guards up next. We continue the conversation. Stiles and Watkins, Sactown Sports.
You never know what you might hear when listening to a